Hi, welcome to the channel on magnetic energy technology principles applications. This video is about ascension relating to like earth changes and ultimately a pole shift. And this is highly unconventional information, and what I'm trying to do is share some of the insights that we were given, some of the revelations. And because there's just so many, this is maybe one of the number one questions is all about this timing, the timing of ascension and how it relates to earth changes and everything. So I want to try to share what the magnetic model would say or says about this type of thing, this model that I'm trying to represent on this channel. So I'm trying. So the earth is in an interesting situation. If you haven't seen any of my other videos, we are essentially in the most contaminated planet, like that the earth, this is the most contaminated that the earth has been, and the most dissonant, if you want to call it, the level of dissonant energy in the earth and our solar system has ever been relative to what we would conventionally consider even the history of our planet. So it's by far the worst it's ever been in terms of dissonance, pollution, fields, energetic fields, magnetic fields, electrical fields, the ionosphere, the ozone layer, the magnetosphere, the everything, the Van Allen belts. It is by far the most contaminated and the worst it's ever been, in the relatively speaking, in our conventional timeline. So, and that is a problem that has to be fixed. It has to be rectified. There is no debate whatsoever that that is going to be fixed one way or another, and it's going to happen very soon as possible. So then part of that getting fixed is this need to bring out new technology that can only be brought out with a level of ascension in the human race. And so the part of the problem with this is because there is so much like pollution in our system and there are so many manipulated elements in this model, you always have etheric energy flowing through everything, and etheric magnetic energy flowing through everything. And so it's interdimensional, it comes into our space, it does its job, it goes back into the system, and then from a universal perspective, what's happening around our planet and the solar system is completely unacceptable. But so the problem is when you have energy flowing through a system that has elements and energy fields that don't allow that energy to clearly and easily flow through the system the way it's meant to, you have all these types of blockages and everything. And so that has to be fixed. The part of the problem is as the energy, the etheric magnetic energy volume is increased in the Earth system and in our solar system, as that volume is ramped up, it pushes the planet's geophysical processes to the next level, to a higher level. And that's where you kind of get all this disruption and everything. Now, in order to have ascension in the human race, we need a higher volume of that energy as well. So those two things are intimately connected. So as you allow more energy into the system, and so it's not just opening the floodgates, it's also creating the attract downstream from our solar system that allows and attracts more energy through the system, because this whole thing is based on attract. So we're all part of this larger circuit where energy is going to be so significantly ramped up in the next few years, and that pushes geophysical events, so like earthquakes, volcanoes, and that type of thing. Now we've already seen like one of the cycles that I've talked about happen a couple months ago, where you get this like 7-ish magnitude earthquake, and you get them in different regions around the planet in just a matter of weeks. So as we get to the next cycle, if you will, that could happen as soon as this, you might see another cycle in 2023, and the start of this accelerated process, look for like 7.5 to 8.0 type of earthquakes that occur in different regions around the globe relatively fast, like in a short time period. So like within weeks of each other. And that includes, typically it'll be like somewhere in the south, like it could be in like the Indian Ocean area or South America, and then somewhere like in the northern, like in the, basically like in the North American area. So that could be like Canada and the United States all the way down to Mexico, but somewhere in that region. So there's typically, it might be like a 4-quake cycle of very significant quakes. And so if we see a ramp up into like a 7.5 to 8.0 like scale of quake, and they happen sequentially in a matter of weeks in the different regions around the planet, then we know that's a good solid indicator that energy is ramping up and the energy coming through our system is pushing even harder. And that also includes like additional volcanic eruptions and stuff. So at the same time that's happening, more energy comes into the system that can also contribute to like ascension. So the people that are like more sensitive to this, they will start experiencing like more ascension symptoms, if you will, or ascension breakthroughs in consciousness. Now, ultimately, the global ascension will not, according to what we were told, will not happen until the pole shift, until post pole shift. And at that point, essentially what will happen is at an etheric level, the energy coming into our solar system and into our planet will be modulated, and it will be modulated by technology at like a higher dimensional level, so that all the energy that permeates our planet, like actually that contributes to our physical existence, like the whole game, the whole, if you want to call it it's just what keeps everything together, what keeps this physical universe working, that etheric magnetic energy that is hyperdimensional, and it moves extremely fast, and it moves in random patterns. So that energy will be modulated so that as it comes through, every single person on the planet will be influenced by it, going into an ascension type of cycle. And so that's why I talk about like technologically enhanced ascension. And the only reason that has been approved, that's a lot of quotes in this video. The only reason that's been approved, as far as I understand, and I have very little information probably of the whole picture, but the only reason that's been approved that I've been told is because we have to have some technologically enhanced ascension for a certain period of time to allow this technology to come out safely, so there aren't any factions essentially on the planet that could misuse it, if that makes sense. And so that will be global and all-encompassing with all people after this pole shift. Now, and that could be taking place, like I've said, this decade. Our information is this is the decade of transformation. And if you think about the acceleration of events, so the graph, if you want to do like a timeline and the severity of events and the acceleration of events, the graph will go like this. So, because from a conventional point of view, they could say, well, geez, this pole shift could take another 1,000 years or, even longer. But what they're not taking into account is like the etheric magnetic flow through our system, and how as that ramps up, it influences everything. It influences the sun. It influences the intensity of solar flares. It influences the cosmic radiation coming in. It influences everything from a quantum level up, that it totally increases the energy in our system. And so as you have that acceleration of events, the timeline becomes shorter, and the intensity of the events becomes more and more severe, until you get to that pole shift switch, where after the pole shift, then we can have a much larger volume of etheric magnetic energy flowing through our system, which will help facilitate that global ascension and then all the global changes that need to take place, and that will empower humanity along with the assistance from others. It will empower us to basically incorporate magnetic technology around the globe and begin transmuting, transferring, breaking down all of the pollution, all of the elements that are unnatural, and all of that stuff, that whole cleaning of the planet that we have to do. That is a top priority from a universal level. And then it will also include cleaning up the rest of the system as well around us, the ionosphere, ozone layer, and everything. And we'll have assistance with that, but we'll also be moving into an anti-gravity age that will make all of that much more doable. So starting in 2023, we are looking for signs of this process beginning, and then as that goes into 24, 25, 26, and all that, you see a ramping up of all that energy, a ramping up of events. There's a certain number of people that will already start going into an ascension type of process to where they will have insights, revelations, higher guidance, clearer guidance on their life path. They will be guided to move to certain locations. They will be guided on certain types of technology. So there will be small groups forming already. And that process has kind of already begun, but it will be ramping up exponentially as well as that energy increases. So there's just this direct connection between ascension and geophysical events, and then that transformation to the human race, and culminating with that pole shift, which then gets everybody at that ascension level with no exceptions whatsoever. So it's kind of like either ascend or they will be their incarnations will be ended. And that's really important. It's important from a universal perspective. At a higher level of awareness and consciousness, we are all on board with this. I can assure you that. We are all on board with it. So the ego will be diminished. The ego will be vanquished. And that's really necessary for this process to take place. What's happened in the last 100 years from a universal level cannot be allowed to go on any longer, essentially. And so that is kind of it, and I hope that gives a little bit of clarity and a little bit of the connection between ascension and earth changes and the pole shift and everything and the timing. And so look for 2023 to be a kind of the first significant year in this process, and keep an eye on the quakes and the volcanic eruptions. It's the sequence of all of that. So I will try to keep you updated as I get the information, and I thank you, and please send in questions if you have them, and I will see you next time.